Crowded field of Democrats seems to be growing by the day, with even more names expected to jump into the race. Mayor Wayne Messam of Miramar, Florida, announced his bid for the presidency at the end of last month.
The 44-year-old first-generation American has served as his town's mayor since 2015. He's in Las Vegas today speaking to voters there, and he joins us now. So, Mayor, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great. So you know what my very first question is going to be. You're the mayor of a town of 140,000 people. It's somewhere between Miami and Fort Lauderdale, if people aren't familiar with it. You're facing at least more than a half dozen current senators, governors, all manner of people, former vice president, possibly. Why do you think you're qualified to be the next president?
Well, you know, I've been blessed to achieve and live the American dream. My parents immigrated to this country from Jamaica. And, you know, when you compare mayors to Washington insiders, Americans see that mayors actually get the job done. The city of Miramar, we have one of the fastest growing economies in America. We actually passed the living wage. We're fighting gun control in our city. I sued the state of Florida so that the city of Miramar and other municipalities across the state can determine their fate in terms of gun safety. And when you look at the pressing issue, I launched a plan to forgive student loan debt. It's $1.5 trillion, and that's crippling our economy and stifling Americans' ability for financial mobility. So when you think about the progress and the progressive issues we are tackling and solving in Miramar, I look to take these issues nationally because the American people need someone who will champion these issues for them.
All right, Mr. Mayor, let's get into some of the issues that some of those who are also gunning for the presidency are backing. A number of your opponents say they will back a Medicare for All plan. Do you believe it's plausible? And if you believe it, how do you plan to fund it?
Well, I think my values is that health care should be a matter of right for American people. I would propose a plan that would provide access to health care to all Americans. Currently, right now, there's a lot of talk and discussion about Medicare for all. It's a plausible plan because it's currently right now providing health care to our seniors. Perhaps a program that would expand that coverage to those who fall outside of coverage, but also believe in choice as well. So if you have an employer that's providing your insurance and you like your physician, I think that you should be able to keep that as well. So I think a common sense approach that provides health care coverage to all Americans is the best way forward.
But how do you plan to pay for that if that's what you want to see? I mean, those all sound like great ideas, but the question, of course, for a lot of Americans is how much is it going to cost?
Well, obviously, the government has to step in and to provide some resources for that.
So does that mean raising taxes?
Well, the thing is that we have to evaluate where our priorities are and the political will to determine what type of nation we want to be. When you think about the nearly $2 trillion in tax cuts that was given to corporations and the richest of Americans, there are resources that are available and should be available to help offset that cost, especially when you look at the crippling cost of prescription medicines that is astronomically high. The federal government should be in a position to help negotiate those prices down. But I think that I would support a plan that would work together with our Medicare program as well as with our private insurers so that we can move forward to provide health care for all Americans.
So listen, let me ask you about another hot topic that the president has been talking about a lot, immigration and what the president calls the crisis at the border. We know that the number of arrests at the southern border have reached a record high, really, 130,000 in March, 103,000 in March alone. So what's your take on this? The president says we have to get tougher. Do you agree? What needs to be done? Because this is, at least both parties are in agreement that there's a problem with the immigration policy here.
Well, I think what we see today is just a symptom of how Washington has failed the American people as it relates to immigration. We need comprehensive immigration reform. We have between 11 to 12 million undocumented individuals in this country right now, and we should provide a pathway for citizenship to those individuals who are contributing to our society, and for the overwhelmingly majority of them are law-abiding individuals. When we have comprehensive immigration reform, as well as working with our neighbors to our southern border to partner with them to help them to deal with some of the issues that are causing some of the exodus from those countries. I think when we have a process and political will in place to ensure that we have comprehensive immigration reform, we will be able to subside some of the issues that we're currently seeing right now.
Mr. Mayor, as you know, your state and many others in this country have been home to a number of devastating mass shootings over the last few years. We all remember Parkland, Florida. Most recently, a Florida House committee voted for a school safety bill that would allow teachers to carry weapons on school grounds if local school boards approve. What's your reaction to that legislation?
Well, a great majority of Floridians are against that measure. It's actually asinine to have our educators armed with guns. You know, Parkland is just 15 minutes from the city of Miramar. Our city actually sent officers to respond to that. As a mayor, I've taken action to go against these crazy bills that you just mentioned. In Florida, do you know that mayors cannot bring forward any discussion on gun control? I could be removed from office by the governor, fined $5,000. So I sued the state of Florida, and litigation is going on right now. We have other cities that have joined on to this lawsuit to move this punitive clause so that cities can be able to have a voice in what gun control means. And in the Messam administration, in my first 4 years, my goal is to reduce gun violence by 50%, and by the end of my administration, to get rid of it altogether. So gun violence is a big issue in our country, and we cannot accept today the new norm that has come about us in terms of mass shootings, as well as violence on our streets. There's over 90 people that are killed every day in America, and we cannot accept this, and action must take place right now.
Well, even in countries, Mr. Mayor, that have very strict gun laws, you can't eliminate the gun violence altogether. It still happens. But let me just talk to you, or let me get your reaction to something that we were just talking about, which is I visited school districts, for example, where educators go through a training process in learning how to use firearms. The firearms they're not wearing them when they're teaching class. They are in a secure room, and if something should happen on school grounds, they are then able to access those weapons, also understanding that if they've been trained for this and if they are able to access those weapons, that they're putting their own lives at risk in protecting their children. Would you support something like that?
Well, what I say is that we have a system in our society that accepts the fact that guns control the narrative. I don't subscribe to the fact that we have to resort to arming teachers. There are other resources we can do to ensure that we keep our cities safe. I would not support any measure that would arm, our teachers. When we accept the fact that to prepare for mass shootings in our schools, we really have to look at ourselves. Just in New Zealand, we saw that massacre that took place. And New Zealand had the political will to take action in short order. The gun lobby in this country has crippled Washington's ability to really put forward common sense gun reform to ensure that our country and our cities and our streets and our schools are safe. And that will be the measure in the direction that I would look to lead this nation if elected president.
So Senator Bernie Sanders says that he will be releasing his tax returns after semi-reluctantly admitting that he's a millionaire.
Even though we all knew he was.
Right. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin says he's reviewing the request from the Democrats to have the president's tax returns released as well. Do you think it's important that we see the president's tax returns? Would you release your tax returns to the public?
Yes, I will be releasing my tax returns. I think the American people should know who they are electing in office. When you hide behind a veil of your financial business, you never know how you are influenced and where your priorities lie. But I think it's important that the American people have some glimpse or some understanding of the financial standing of their commander-in-chief.
Mr. Mayor, how much money have you raised?
Well, currently right now, we just launched on March 30th. We are on our way to reaching the DNC goals to get on the debate, and that's my push right now. Currently right now, we've received contributions from 43 states. The DNC requires 65,000 donors from 20 states, so we're pushing to get that minimum. But we are convinced that as our message gets out, we'll have the resources, small dollar contributions. I'm not receiving any contributions from super PACs or corporations. Everyday Americans and we're confident that we'll have the resources to run a successful campaign.
Mr. Mayor, I saw that one of your slogans, or at least something that you've said in the past, is "Restore the American Dream." Where did that come from? Why is it that you feel that there needs to be a restoration of the American dream? A lot of people feel that they're living it now.
Well, there are a lot of Americans who have to work 2 and 3 jobs. There are a lot of us seniors who have to choose between their high-cost prescription medicines and to eat. You have individuals that are graduating from college and very high student loan debt, and they feel that they're trapped. Restoring the American Dream came from my parents immigrating from Jamaica, and my parents instilling in me that anything is possible in this country. My father was a contract sugarcane cutter, working in almost slave-like conditions, and he instilled hard work and values within me. I was able to go to Florida State and play football for Coach Bobby Bowden, win a national championship. After my NFL career was cut short, my wife and I actually started a construction business. And now I'm the mayor of a major city in Florida, and to even be contemplated as a potential candidate for president of the United States, I'm living that American dream, and I want to give Americans a second chance of the American dream, because currently right now, this administration and their policies is really attacking the ability for Americans to achieve that American dream.
All right.
All right.
Mayor Wayne Messam, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good luck.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
You too.